Okay, hello. We're back. Somehow the minutes got lost on the first video, so I'm coming back to give you the last part of how to lay glaze or bondo or polyglaze. Polyglaze is really good because it sticks to anything, even plastic bumpers. But you have to mix the ratio correctly. You can ask the auto body shop guy to give you some tips. Usually they'll give it to you because if they don't, they believe you won't come back as another customer. Or auto body shop guy will give you a referral where to pick up your auto body supplies. Okay, so this is part two, and I did the sanding technique earlier. So now I'm going to show you how to lay the way bondo and putty should be laid. And I already demonstrated how to sand your car in the first part, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let's go on here now forward to the second part. Okay, so today's hot weather, and the putty got really jelly, really messy, and usually it comes out nice and thick, but now it's real thin. But let's see what happens. Okay, it's going to look a little messy. And again, I cleaned off the spot. Cleaning off your area is good, always good. Okay, so the idea of laying bondo, putty, or glaze is to actually don't just gob it on there. You want to lay it and press it. Oh, I have to use a ruler because my spreaders are really crappy today. So what I'm doing, I'm pressing it in as much as possible, and just pretend it's bondo. See, this stuff is really really like water, so to speak. But anyway, so you can see I'm pressing it in as much as possible. This hot weather is really making this stuff really gooey today. So there you are, you see. So when you have spreaders, you spread them on downward or sideways and or upward, but the idea is to press it in deep as possible, so it will lay well. So now I'm going back in another way, as you can see, upward, and you can also do it sideways, this way, and what have you. Okay, so let me clean off this water mess below here. So it's supposed to lay like that, but bondo would be thicker, so it would fill this area really good. This is too thin, and glaze is in between. It's not so thick and it's not so thin, and it's a finishing toucher, the glaze. And again, poly glaze, metal glaze is good, but I use polyglaze because polyglaze, it just sands real good, and it works very well. Okay, and you have to use primer before you use polyglaze or metal glaze, and you have to use primer to use putty. There's putty or primer already in there, so I don't have to use that for this putty for this demonstration. It's already from the old primer inside the old paint job. Okay, so what else? When you have to use the hardeners correctly, so you have to ask around at the auto body shop how much hardener should I use to the ratio of how much bondo or polyglaze or what have you, metal glaze. Putty is one step. You don't have to mix it with nothing. It's already one step, and you just spread it on there. And I've already gave a little demo. I wish I had the spreaders, but they're pretty crappy. They're just too old. Okay, so the first demo, you have to know what your grits are. I use 180 because it cuts faster. And you don't want to dig in real deep. You just want to scuff real nice. And a nice scuffing, just think of a rock skipping over a river or the sea or something. And that's how you scuff. Because if you dig real deep with sandpaper, you can leave too many deep scratches. Nice scuffing. You'll get the hang of it with more practice as you go along. So 180, 150 cuts real fast, and I use it before I paint a car. 320 is ideal dry sanding. Some guys use 400. Let me see if I can get a sample around here of 400. Oh Lord, I'm looking for the 400. Oh, okay, I found it. And this is 400, and as you can see, you can do it for wet sanding. Wet sanding people think that wet sanding is something special. All it does is save the wear of the sandpaper, but it's 400. The higher the number, the finer the grit. So I used 180. It's kind of like a happy medium sandpaper, and it's not so rough. Now you're supposed to use like 3 layers of Bondo, and then you start your polyglaze, and your putty is your last step for the scratches and to make it nice and smooth. This is 60 grit, and this stuff is really coarse, really rough. Okay, it's not like 180 or the other grits. So remember, the higher the number, the finer the grit. The grit is sandpaper. That's another word. Grit, sandpaper, same thing. Okay, so a lot of guys use 400 before they paint a car. But I'm sure they use something like 220 or something to start it off, and then they sand with 400 before a paint job. Now you got to remember, when you're using all these coatings of primer or primer sealer or color, which is the paint, and then the clear coat, all the clear coat does is make the car shine. That's all it does. Okay, so be aware of that. And I think I covered a lot of areas, and you just got to keep practicing. Oh yes, before I forget, there's one more thing. Aerosol cans. A lot of guys use, this is Guide Coat, and when you spray it on there, it's like splats everywhere. You know, it doesn't really lay like paint. It shows you your high points and dips and pings and scratches. It all shows up. Okay, so again, if you sand wrong, all your mistakes are going to show up in your paint job. So Guide Coat is something to show you what a lot of your mistakes are. And a lot of guys, when they spray paint, they just go and spray, but they don't tell you the distance. The distance is usually 5.5 inches or 6 inches, depending how well you have had experience. So keep that in mind. And anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I saw a lot of things that guys missed on YouTube. And this is ET Song Galaxy, and I'm one of the hosts, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I think I can do another video on other techniques related to auto body. And ET Song Galaxy is a variety site. It's just not one thing, and because there's just not one thing in life. But